Paint a picture here as we head into 2022. What happens?
In 2022, nothing's going to happen in the U.S. market. I don't think they'll even deal with stablecoins. That geography is going to go through a very long process before it institutionalizes crypto. Everybody understands that. The optimism that was around in February last year around the first U.S. ETF, when the ETFs came into the Canadian market, and you have to hand it to the Canadian regulator. They have been very strong in terms of innovation and letting these new ideas of payment systems be tested in the markets and then adopted in their policy. We just had 2 new licenses granted here in Ontario. They're pan-Canadian for market exchanges. That's fantastic, and that's real innovation. And the way I like to look at that, and this is just a personal opinion, I don't have any insider information or anything, but the OSC has consistently been great innovation, great innovators, very experimental, but never did anything outside of the purvey of the SEC. They were very coordinated. So in a way, Canada's a bit of a guinea pig market for what the SEC looks at. That's a personal opinion. So they're watching what's happening here. We're getting very strong adoption of these various payment systems, crypto platforms, cryptocurrencies, crypto infrastructure, all of that, these different chains. Canada is leading the charge globally in getting investor capital, which is absolutely fantastic, including mine. And other geographies are starting to look at Canada in terms of leadership, in the sense that they're not crypto cowboys, they're not going against the SEC, they're being very thoughtful. So geographies like United Arab Emirates, I just spent 10 days there to talk to the government about their plans on cryptocurrencies, because I'm very interested in investing there as well. I think for institutional investors now, the new game plan for 2022 is to find the geographies and find the regulators that are going to be more innovative, if you want to call it that, or more liberal, if you want to use that word, and invest in those geographies while we wait out policy in the United States, which is going to eventually happen. But you've got to be a global investor if you want to enjoy the innovation being done within crypto. And I will always argue this regarding crypto. You know, I don't think Bitcoin's Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is software. I think Ethereum is software. I think HBAR is software. Polygon is software. I invest in all of it. It's the infrastructure of the internet. And lastly, because I remember talking to you guys at the beginning of last year, and I was saying I was thrilled that my crypto exposure in February and March, the end of Q1, was 3%. Well, through more investment this year in companies like WonderFi and Immutable Holdings that were brought public on the NEO Exchange in Canada, more innovation, you got to hand it to the NEO. My exposure now across crypto, including my work with FTX and with Circle in USDC, I'm past 10%. That's a ton of the operating company's capital involved in this sector.
Mr. Kevin O'Leary, thank you so much for all the insight. I have a very similar, I was going to talk to you about something else, but you just made a good point there about your 3% turning into 10%. Is that something we always hear people talk about, trimming once it gets to a certain level? It seems like your conviction's pretty strong. I have a feeling like you may be adding to that 10% rather than trimming. Is that a policy? Because obviously with some of the funds, is that something that you're doing personally? Does it get to a level where even though we're bullish, we start to trim back a little bit just because we're overweighted? Or how do you play that sort of aspect?
Well, that's a great question. I use the same approach I use to equities and debt. I never let one single position become more than 5% of the portfolio. Never more than a sector ever gets past 20. So I've got a good 10% left to go on crypto. I'm very constructive on crypto. I'm a believer in it. You have to make a binary decision. Either you believe in it or you don't. I'm on board, so I'm investing. But I actually allocated 7% of the capital. But capital appreciation was so strong in the last 2 quarters across a lot of these platforms that it blew right past 10%. I haven't trimmed anything yet because no individual position, my largest right now is Ethereum, but I also own a lot of Solana, a lot of Polygon. Polygon guys I met in Dubai, I was so impressed with their whole technology of aggregating transactions on top of Ethereum and then reducing gas fees or costs dramatically. And any time you can add efficiency, you can reduce friction, reduce costs, be more productive, you want to invest in teams that do that. So I invested in them as well. I'm just finding, I look at deal flow right now, 45% of my day in looking at new deals is in the crypto space. That's almost half. So I'm going to continue to be very constructive in 2022. I'm very excited about innovation there.
And of course, Polygon Matic, that's the name that we've been into a lot. And I bought an NFT the other day, and it was like the price of gas on Ethereum was almost the same as the NFT itself. So I think you're right on some of those plays.